This summer is all about watercolor flowers. There are two ways you can join in the fun. Number one, if you want the basic tutorial, you're here, yay. Follow along with the video, paint your flower with me, and subscribe so you don't miss the other flowers that are coming out every week this summer. Option two, join Painting Through the Seasons, my new course that's all about painting watercolor flowers, but you'll get extra instruction on how to sketch your flowers, how to mix your watercolors, watercolor techniques each week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want that extra guidance, scan the QR code to join me today. Now let's paint some flowers. This week's flower feels a little tropical to me, the hibiscus flower with its wide petals and its long stamen. I think that's what it's called. So starting with that centerpiece, it's oval shaped and is kind of textured, and then I'm going to have my petals go out from that. I'm just looking at the reference photos to see how those petals overlap, because they don't have a lot of petals, but the ones that they do have are really beautiful, and they overlap in a pretty way, and they're a little wiggly around the edges. And so those are the things I'm trying to capture here. The kind of crooked edges, the oval centers, and the wide petals. And there's texture in that middle piece as well. And this one had the oval with little spiky things sticking out of it. So I'm gonna do some of those on that one. Look at these petals, where are they coming from? And making sure I do those wavy lines for the petals to remember that they are not smooth on the edges. Figuring out where my centers would be for my stems. I'm going to fit one more in over here. Kind of looking at this one head on, so we aren't going to see the oval shape as much, but we are going to see that overlapping of the petals. And then hibiscus leaves also give that tropical feel because there's lots of overlapping leaves. So it looks kind of lush and jungly. And I'm putting a bunch of them to help with that tropical feel that I want on this painting. And that looks pretty good. I'm gonna make my hibiscus flowers like a reddish orangey, or like a reddish pink, not orange, like a reddish pink color. But they do come in a variety of colors, so you can look around and see which color you want to try. And they do have very deeply colored centers because they kind of are sunken in. So I'm going to try and capture that as we go. And then I'm just going to fill in these petals, making sure I do some wavy lines around the edges. Otherwise, just filling it in while leaving those highlights. And I did a mix of Scarlet Lake and Opera Rose to get this kind of reddish pink color. I'm using yellow ochre again for those centers. to get that golden yellow. Keeping it pretty light on this layer. Trying to get a bit more pink. And it's not Scarlet Lake and Opera Rose, it's Quinacridone Burnt Orange and Opera Rose. Those are the two colors. Quinacridone Burnt Orange is one of my favorite colors. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel using that color to mix into 10 other colors just to see what it would do because it is so pretty. And it did end up making a whole page of really beautiful, like earth toned colors. So if you like those kind of colors, like rusty reds and deeper yellows and just all kinds of beautiful oranges and browns, then check out that YouTube video. I'll try to remember to leave a link to it on this lesson so you can check it out. I'm going to use Perylene Green for these leaves. They're a deeper green color, so I'm just using it on its own for now. I may add in some cadmium yellow medium or yellow ochre to change the color a little bit. That looks pretty good for the first layer. So I'm going to finish up and I will let it dry. The first layer is dry, so it's time to add more color to our petals. They're looking a little flat, as you can see, and that's just part of working with watercolor when you want to work in layers. So here, this color is much more vibrant already on this first flower, and it's still just the quinacridone burnt orange and the opera rose mix. I just added more color and less water. This is a way to lift color to add some texture in your layers. If you're interested in that, I use a paper towel. Adding some more bold color to the second flower. And now when you lift color, it does take some of the deeper color away. As you can see, the first one is much lighter again, but you do get texture. So play around with it and see if you like doing that. Filling in that final flower with these colors before we lift some with the paper towel. You can use a tissue, you can use like a Q-tip, and you can even just pick up color with your brush if you want to be more specific with where you're lifting the color. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Trying to get the deeper yellow color on top of the centers, and also the kind of pit in the center there too, where all the petals go down into each other. It's such a dark spot on the flower. We'll see what we can end up with there. Adding more color to these petals. This time I mixed some yellow ochre in with my perylene green to give it a closer to like a tropical green color. And I want to add some green in between the flowers because you can see the stems should be going through in that area. So I just added those little bits of green, lifting some of that middle color that's spread out. All right, so I want to add more color again into these petals. And as I'm doing it on this layer, I'm going to add the color and then also add in some veining where I feel like I want some of the petals to reflect the veining that flowers have. Trying to define those petals a little bit so that we know that there are separate petals there, which obviously we do, but just kind of highlighting that and adding some veining into those. I still also want to try and get that darker spot in the middles where all of those petals are growing out of. Finishing up with the extra color and veining on this petal. And then I want to get some of the perylene green back on my brush so I can add some dark spaces to my leaves. And it's still the perylene green and the cadmium yellow medium mix, just darker. And then a bit of perylene green just on top by itself because it is such a dark color. It makes it really stand out. So adding a little bit of that. And then we can go on to final details. For this final layer, I have my Inktense pencils back, and this one is like a deep red orange color, so perfect for these petals. They are definitely, now that I'm looking at it, more orange than pink, but they're still a pretty color, so we're good. Scribbling in those centers to get them a little darker and just highlighting the veining of these petals. You'll see, add a little bit of dots for the little things sticking out of the center of that flower and some scribbly marks to represent the texture. And then I will get my green Inktense pencil and add some lines to the leaves. And then we're going to do some splatter with our yellow-green color. And some more with our quinacridone orange. And we're done. Remember, this is the basic tutorial for the week. This is what you will see every week through the summer unless you join me in painting through the seasons. This course was built to dive deeper into watercolor to help you learn how to sketch your flowers, how to mix your colors, different watercolor techniques every week. And I wanted to do that so that if you like a step-by-step approach and if you want more instruction instead of just painting along with me, then you can, and you have that option. Right now, the course is discounted because I'm adding the flowers as we go. And so after summer's over, the price will jump up. So jump on that discounted price now, and I will see you in there.